You are listening to the one and only Visionaries Wrestling Network, envisioning excellence and providing your perfect podcast experience.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, we're giving you our Money in the Bank 2020 predictions, our favorite Money in the Bank cash-ins of all time, the Wednesday Night Wars, and Week 3 of our NXT TakeOver. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast. Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Mark. So welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. Dusha House Party. And over there...
That boy ain't shit, I swear.
And over there in University City, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
Allow us to bow our heads as I read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 154, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good spark saith, #Who the heels. It is all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. Shout out to my girl, Becky Balboa. I love you, babe. House party.
Terrible.
That's great. No, I'm glad that I'm doing the podcast because I've been on Twitter a lot lately and getting into ridiculous Twitter arguments. And I'm just glad that I need to get away from social media for a little bit, talk to people that have semi-reasonable expectations like I do. It's good to be back.
I see you on there, and I see you mixing it up. Can you tell me what's the stupidest one that people got into you with this week?
It's kind of petty, but I get it. It's not. I didn't even get into it, but it was more like a question. Long story short, it's a group where they're trying to troll guys for asking for followers. I'm looking for, trying to get to X amount of followers. Can you retweet, help me out, blah, blah, blah. And these guys have made it a point to call people out on the shit. I mean, I get it. It's kind of petty to ask for followers. I mean, it is what it is. I don't personally do it, so I don't personally understand it. But to go out of your way, this is like your daily routine to find shit out like this. I don't know. I just find the whole thing weird. It's social media. I mean, and people are out here either trolling for the sake of the troll or taking it to like the ratings for NXT and AEW. Here's the line. They're acting like it's the fucking Civil War. We're trying to, finish slavery, and it's really ratings, and nobody's getting paid for this, and these jokers are going at it left and right, and it boggles my mind how crazy people get for two guys in the ring, half naked, fake fighting.
I think that's the earliest I've ever hit the "he's heating up" drop. I don't think I've ever hit it prior to getting to the 3 count. So that might be a new record. We're setting records this week.
Well, see, that's what you get for throwing up the alley-oops like that.
Two Beer Zach Pullman couldn't make it today. He may be joining us later. He had some stuff come up, which is as expected when you're quarantined with your kids. But hopefully he joins us later. I'm coming at you from South City, St. Louis, from my cozy basement here on the south side, the home of the Metronome. It's a beautiful day outside. This is Money in the Bank weekend. I mean, it's pretty much my favorite pay-per-view, my favorite WWE
Really?
pay-per-view. Yeah, I think so. I love Money in the Bank. I'm
a Royal Rumble guy.
Royal Rumble's number 2, but I love the idea of the Money in the Bank. I love the cash-in idea. I think it's automatic storytelling, that it's kind of a cheat code for storytelling, but man, does it work when it's done right. And when it's done wrong, it is terrible. And I hate it so much. But there's really only been a few times where they fucked it up. Last year being the biggest fuck up of them all. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Before we get too far into it, JCB, why don't you tell us about F&B Eatery?
F&B Eatery on the corner of 3453 Southampton and Marquette, home of the best smash burger you've never heard of. So let's remedy that. Go check them out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at F&B Eatery, lowercase letters. That way you are abreast of all upcoming specials, hours that change, especially during the quarantine times. That way you can come up curbside, get you a smash burger, keep the wife and kids happy, keep it moving. Go check my boy Mike out, 3453 Southampton, F&B Eatery. Tell him that Bam from Ringside sent you.
All right, let's get into that. 3 counts.
1, 2, 3.
It's a free-for-all today, Jason. Where do you want to start?
I guess we can start Wednesday Night Wars if you want to.
Okay.
Say that it's always a safe bet. You want to start NXT? You want to do AEW first?
Let's start with AEW.
AEW, I noticed the couple of things off the bat, and this is just free spitballing. More people around ringside and scattered in the stands. I think that was, and I said it on Twitter when I was watching it, I thought that was kind of a litmus test to see how people would react online, if this was good, bad, whatever the case may be. I personally didn't mind it. I think it's a step in a direction where I think most people wanted to go, where things get to be, quote unquote, back to normal again. I thought that the announcements about, with everybody's being safe, all that other stuff, maybe a little overblown. Maybe that's just me, but I think you say it once and you don't have to come back to it. But once again, that's just me. Opening match was Cody and Joey Janela. I thought Joey Janela coming in and just a kind of a one-off did a really good job with that opening segment. Everybody kind of knew that Cody was going to win, but a story had to be told. Cody's, grinding towards this NXT championship match with Lance Archer, and he had a tough test with Joey Janela. Not saying that Joey Janela is going to be a superstar on the AEW roster. He has his own promotion to worry about, so I'm sure he has that on his forefront of his mind. But I thought this was a good way to start the night, and ultimately it was a good way for the show to go. Ultimately, I thought the show was really good. A few, bumps here and there, but go ahead. What did you think about the opening segment?
I was very cool with the opening segment, for a match that didn't have a lot of intrigue as to who was going to win going into it. I like that Janela got a lot of offense in. Cody's neck tattoo continues to baffle me. What you were saying, though, about people being scattered throughout the crowd, and there was a couple times they showed into the seats, and everybody was 6 feet away from each other, which is a good look on TV. Who knows how seriously they were going to take it? I appreciated that Jake the Snake Roberts was there wearing a mask, because he is in the danger zone for COVID-19. He is an elderly fellow. I mean, he's in his 60s. I don't have it right here how old he is, but it was also live this week, which is the first time NXT or AEW has been live since they started going to empty arenas. But without getting too far ahead of it, it's so different watching AEW with just the other wrestlers standing around the ring watching and cheering on, and a few scattered fans. I don't even know who they were. They might have been employees or something just in the crowd. It's so much different, and it's such a better take on it than WWE's straight up silence. It's unbelievable how big of a difference it makes just to have a little bit of noise besides the two guys or two gals grunting in the ring. It's so much better. AEW is so much more fun to watch because of it.
I'll concede the fact that just the visual makes it look better. But like I said it last week, if you're giving me a compelling storyline, I can care less where it is, who's there, whatever the case may be. Chances are I'm worried about what's going on in the ring versus who's marking out outside the ring. That's just me.
Yeah, and that's a preference thing. And I don't want to sound like a broken record every single week when this shit's, while this shit's still going on, but I'm afraid that I am. So I'll try not to do that. We have, second up, we had Nyla Rose versus Kenzie, what's her name?
Look.
Okay, so Nyla Rose has squash. Nyla Rose is good.
I was about to say, let's just cut to the chase.
Okay, MJF was there. MJF had the promo that he's been cutting, drinking his wine. It was a good promo, if not a little. It's almost a little too old school for me. Does that make sense to you? That's my only problem with MJF is
No. Expound on it now, because I was getting ready to say, I think I know where you're going with it, but let's expound on that for the.
There's still sometimes when he's cutting a promo, and this isn't always. There's still sometimes when he's cutting a promo where it seems like. You remember the old NXT not NXT, Tough Enough. You remember when you would have Tough Enough and those guys would come in there and they would it was like promo week and it would be their turn to cut a promo, and it was always like a bunch of guys that were trying to sound how they believed wrestlers sounded.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It seems like MJF is still a dude playing wrestler. And I might catch some heat on that on Twitter because I know that he's a fan favorite. But there is something about it that just doesn't seem completely natural to me, like all the greats really do. Your thoughts?
I'm an MJF guy, and I said it last night. I think he's amazing on the mic, but I think he's okay in the ring. Which ultimately, I think that's what fans kind of want. They want the larger than life personalities first. At least I shouldn't say that. I think then I'll just stick to the script. MJF, I think, is amazing. I just think this is just one of those times where personally Bill doesn't like the way this is being packaged. I don't mind it because it kind of hit on some of the things that, has been said about him on Twitter. He's not this person. He's not that person. All, outside of Ric Flair, Roddy Piper was the big one. Great personality, but was okay in the ring. And he gets a lot of comparisons to that. So, I mean, for me, for him to kind of strike back on that kind of resonated a little bit. But like I said, at the end of the day, I'm a little biased. I'm an MJF guy, but I kind of try to keep things realistic.
Listen,
great talker, but just average in the ring. Other guys need to be around him to make him look better.
He is a great talker. I'm not saying he's not a great talker, and I'm not. And for 24, he's certainly got. It's pretty rare that you have somebody who's his age who is great in the ring, and the ones that are great in the ring stand out because they are so young, like a Will Ospreay. Like even Velveteen Dream is like MJF in the fact that he's not spectacular in the ring. But his personality is great. Right. It's just sometimes it seems like MJF is just trying a little too hard for me. Just trying a little too hard. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's a fair criticism. I don't have a problem with that.
And I'm an MJF fan. It's just when he started bringing up, who did he bring up? He brought up Flair, he brought up The Rock, and he brought up somebody, Piper. And it's like, it's like we're thinking about him. It's almost like he actually believes it, and then it's like, well, wait a minute, dude, you're not. Maybe it's just because I believe he is that cocky, and that makes me like him less.
Well, it's not like we haven't had a interaction with him
where he was completely cocky.
Okay, so we have a not even like 5 minutes. It's a very small sample size, but that small sample size was enough for you to have that impression in mind. When he was like, don't wipe that wing sauce on my shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so he comes off as a dick.
Right, yes. Yeah, like I was going to spill the wing sauce on his fucking jacket.
Yeah, so ultimately, this is just one of those things where this was your impression, and now that impression has gone on maybe subconsciously to this vignette that he cut. And it wasn't like he cut a bad vignette. I just think that The Rock is a big-time lead. I don't think he's anywhere near that category of talking like The Rock. Piper, that's a fair comparison. I think that's about right on the mark.
Come find me, Maxwell. Come find me. South City.
You don't want none of that.
South City.
You don't want none of that smoke. You don't want none of that smoke. Man, you better tell that, man. Honestly, at the end of the day, I'm looking forward for him to come back, even if it's in a squash, for him to come back and get AEW not back to where it should be, but getting the big stars back and everybody kind of starting to whatever storyline angle they're going to go from this
he's
point on.
Totally a valuable asset. Like I'm like this is really, like I said, this is picking nits. I mean, I'm an MJF fan. We got MJF versus Jungle Boy coming up at Double or Nothing, which should be a fun match. And those are two young guys that could have a lot of matches together, in the next 20 years or so. Moving on, we have Kazarian versus Moxley. Another match without a whole lot of intrigue, but Kazarian had a good showing. Kazarian can go. Moxley can go. The big story coming out of that, though, is that Dark Order attacked Moxley after the match. Brody Lee cuts a promo on Moxley as he's beaten down and says that he wants a shot at the title. And Moxley said, hell, all you had to do was ask. Which was great. A great response. What do you think about going forward, Brody Lee versus Moxley for the title?
You say the wolf is coming. Yeah, that's all you had to say.
It was a great response.
That's the first thing I thought when he said it. The match I thought was really good. I think Kazarian, unless you remember him from the TNA days, you don't think of him as a singles guy. So this might have been a little bit of a shock to see him do so well with Moxley in ring. I thought the match was, like I said, really good. Now, obviously, the post-match angle is what spins out of it. I don't know what fans really want. I mean, Jericho lost to Moxley. Now he beat Hager a couple weeks back. So, I mean, at some point, he's going to have to defend the title again. Here's Brody Lee that's basically, running roughshod through, the mid-card or whatever the case may be. It's a chance to have Brody Lee on a top card for one of the bigger pay-per-views that AEW has. And for whatever reason, people aren't satisfied with that. At some point, he's got to defend. He being Jon Moxley has to defend the title against somebody.
Wait a minute.
Why not Brody Lee?
Are people upset about Moxley taking on Brody Lee?
It doesn't make sense. AEW rankings, fill in the blank of whatever criticism that you want. It's more about the rankings, where if the rankings mean so much, then why is so-and-so getting this title match instead of so-and-so?
Maybe they're starting to realize that this is why wrestlers don't have a one-loss record that's put on TV very often, because sometimes it doesn't make for the best story because it's a simulated sport. Maybe, I mean, I love having the records out there, but I mean,
me too. I think this is just one of those things where it's looking for something to be mad about. I hate AEW, and this, gives me, justification to hate it. I'm not saying that it's always going to be perfect, because it's not going to be perfect. Okay, you were talking about Nyla Rose. Sheeta's the number one contender, but she already beat Sheeta, but now she's the number one contender again. Chris Statlander's number two, already beat Chris Statlander. So I'm kind of like, where are we going with this? The booking isn't consistent with the rankings, so I'll give you that. Now, to make this a big deal to where now Brody Lee is all of a sudden an undeserving contender, I think that's where you're going too far. Brody Lee was getting a push before he even stepped in the door as the Exalted One. So, yeah, you're going to want to try to strike when the iron is hot. That's always been one of our biggest criticisms with WWE, Raw, SmackDown, main roster, whatever you want to call it, is that they always pass on the opportunity when it's hot. They wait. Well, let's not do it. They hesitate, and then they wait too long, and then it's like, oh shit, we waited too long, and now what the fuck are we going to do? See Braun Strowman.
Yep.
In this scenario, I say this is okay. Brody Lee was already being hyped up coming in. He's basically destroyed everybody else on the way up to this point.
Yep.
You already earmarked Lance Archer for the secondary title. Not saying he's going to win it, but obviously he has a match with Cody Rhodes to determine who's the first TNA or TNT champion. Somebody's got to wrestle Jon Moxley. Okay, so at some point we're just going to have to get away from, oh, this is what they said, and be a little flexible about shit.
I agree with Jason 100%, which makes for terrible podcasting. So, moving on to Lance Archer versus QT Marshall with Brandy at ringside for QT. The biggest takeaway from this is that it looked like Jake the Snake brought back Damian the Snake after the match. Or is that something that we're going to get? And are you a fan of that?
I'll say it like this. Personally, I hate it because I hate fucking snakes. It fucking freaked me the fuck out to watch Damian slither over fucking Brandy. I mean, I literally had to turn away a couple of times because that's how big. Heights and snakes are probably my two biggest fears. So to have Damian resurface into my life is not necessarily the greatest thing for my sleep. However, it was perfect for this point. You had Brandy come out, basically say, keep your name out of my mouth. And then after the fact, Britt Baker takes out Brandy. Perfect. I wish it had been Penelope Ford, but that's just me. That's my bias. And then you have Jake getting heat on him and Lance Archer, bringing out Damian, having him slither all over Brandy Rhodes. I thought it was done very, very well. And it got the point across where, yeah, you are going to talk shit, but I can get you anytime, any place, anywhere, whether your husband's here or not, you can get got. I thought it was done very well.
I did not know that snakes were a fear of yours. That's good. That's
you do that shit, I will fuck you up.
That's good to know. That's good to know for future things. I can't believe it had never occurred to me before that Jake the Snake was back in wrestling and didn't have Damian. Did they call him Damian on the? Did they call the Snake Damian on the show? I don't even.
They did. No, I'm sure that's trademarked by Vince and company. But they basically said, oh my God, he's got his snake. He's got a snake. So if you're old enough and you remember Jake the Snake, obviously this is Damian or a kin of sorts. But
like if you're old enough, there might be some people listening to this that they probably know Jake the Snake, but they never watched him wrestle. I used to watch Jake the Snake wrestle. My brother's name is Jake, and so Jake the Snake was his dude. And we loved when Jake used to get the snake out because Jake used to have Damian in the bag next to the ring all the time, and it was awesome. I mean, you get home from church, wrestling starts at 11 o'clock. You miss the first couple of matches because you're driving home. It's about a 15-minute drive. You get home, that's just about in time for the Jake the Snake or the Macho Man Randy Savage or Tito Santana, stuff like that. Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I love seeing the Snake.
Are we done yet? Damn.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
I didn't say that.
And then at the end, the main event was Omega and Broken Matt Hardy versus Y2J and Sammy Guevara, who called themselves the Sex Gods, in a brawl.
That's a great fucking name.
Had some fun spots. I mean, it was a pointless match. It did have some fun spots, and it ended with a cool visual of the Inner Circle in Jacksonville Stadium, backing out and having Inner Circle on the big jumbotron behind them. So, any thoughts on that before we move on to NXT?
No, it was what it was. I'll go over the top for me at points, kind of reminiscent of what I see opposite of them on Mondays and Fridays, but it was entertaining. Omega with the moonsault off the top. I don't know if it was 15 feet, but that to me was one of the biggest highlights.
That was a big spot.
Sammy Guevara, God bless that dude. He's a bumping fool. He's going to get himself hurt. But all in all, it did what it was meant to do. It was to entertain, and moving forward, the inner circle is back. Whole is my biggest takeaway from that. It didn't really faze me one way or the other. I didn't think it was good. I didn't think it was bad. It was just, it was there. It was meant to be entertaining, and ultimately that's what it was.
All right.
This is banned from Ringside.
We'll move on to NXT. NXT started with Dijakovic. I hate the way they pronounce it. Dijakovic is how they should pronounce it.
Frenemy of the show, that's all you need to know.
Frenemy of the show, Dijakovic against Johnny Gargano. Thoughts on that match?
I hate to say it, but looking at them in the ring, it was almost kind of hard to sit here and think, okay, how is Johnny Gargano supposed to win this match? Now, fast forward with the turnbuckle spot. Okay, that's how he wins the match. Obviously, the DDT afterwards. I guess that's going to be his finisher opposite the Gargano lock or whatever the case may be. I thought the match itself was fine. Candice, I was surprised it took for her that long to come out to ringside. I was hoping that it wasn't going to be a distraction finish, because I'm just not a huge fan of the distraction finish. But for me, my biggest takeaway from this is Dijakovic is just like, it feels like he has no direction with his character. They don't know what to do with him, whether to keep him in the mid-card, go up, go down. So it just feels like they're just ultimately spinning the wheels with him, and there's no place for him to go. His character isn't that great to where I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to hear him talk. In ring, I think he's great, but just for whatever reason, there's no place for him to go right now. So him losing to Gargano to me was a little bit of a disappointment. But
I mean, without Keith Lee, he doesn't really have a character.
And that's going to be a problem moving forward. That's why I kind of thought that, especially here with the opposition being Gargano, Johnny Gargano is basically Teflon at this point. I mean, if there was a time for him to take an L, this would have been a time to do it. And then you could run it back or have him jump Dijakovic after the match, and then you could lead to a second match. Now, a rematch kind of seems pointless, Turnbuckle spot aside, he beat him clean. I don't know what else where we're going to go from this point. What do you do with him? Gargano can go anywhere he wants to go. To me, where do you go with Dijakovic is the question.
Yeah, I agree. We don't have to run down everything here. Karrion Kross, unless there was something you want to talk about with Tozawa and Jack Gallagher. Tozawa got the win. Tozawa is Tozawa is like two different characters. One that's on Raw that just jobs out, and one that's on NXT who's a world beater.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just say this. I don't think he's going to win the block. I think it's going to be Phantasmo winning the block, because they have a match coming up. Phantasmo wins. He'll have the tiebreak on Tozawa. He'll win Group 3.
Who has a better suicide dive, Tozawa or Phantasmo?
Ooh, I'm gonna catch some heat on it. I don't care. I like Tozawa. He can go in between the middle and the top rope, or he can go underneath the bottom and the middle rope. And I think that's kind of, we always give shit about guys clipping their feet going in between the middle. He can do either or, and he does both really well. I'm going Tozawa.
Who has the worst, Daniel Bryan or Jon Moxley?
It's got to be Mox. I mean,
or Sasha Banks.
No, Sasha could do it. If Moxley, in order of worst to best, I will go Moxley's the worst.
It's terrible. He shouldn't do it.
Sasha's probably the middle, and Daniel Bryan's the best.
All right, I'll take that.
Those three.
Those three none of them are very good.
None of them are really good, but I'm kind of glad that Moxley's kind of going away from it. Sasha's kind of gone away from it, and Daniel Bryan can do whatever the hell he wants. I mean, hell, he's Daniel Bryan, for Christ's sake.
Karrion Kross had a fine debut where he squashed a jobber. He looks the part. He's a bad-looking dude. Go ahead.
Did you like the entrance? Because ultimately, that's what this boils down to. I mean, the Leon Ruff, God bless him, he's a long way from a ball, so Stevie Wonder could see he was going to get squashed. Did you like the entrance?
Oh yeah, I was down with the entrance totally. You mean with the black and white and everything, and Scarlet,
the whole shebang.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I'm down with that. I'm looking forward to him. I'm looking forward to him versus Ciampa as a feud going forward. Charlotte Flair versus Io Shirai ended in a DQ, and then we had the return of Rhea Ripley. And then we had Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai get into it in the hallway afterwards. What's going? What's
Veggie special?
Whoa! That's the kind of triple threat I'm really into.
I'll just say this: this was a match I was really looking forward to, and the word I came away from was anticlimactic. It just felt like we didn't get what we came here for. This was basically a match to set up the next match. And to me, the next match feels like it's going to be the triple threat, Io, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte Flair, which I don't have a problem with. But for me, I don't think if anybody loses out in this, it's going to be Io Shirai, because ultimately I think Rhea Ripley's going to get the title back. Personally, I'd rather it just be in a one-on-one scenario where then Rhea pins Charlotte, Rhea gets the Charlotte rub, and then you can go about your way from that. My fear is that Io's been added so she can take the pin, and that way Rhea gets the title back, Charlotte comes away unscathed, and Io is the one that comes away the quote-unquote the biggest loser of this.
Unless they can find a way for Charlotte to kind of job out to both of them and then go back to Raw or SmackDown somehow, some sort of booking magic. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Ripley. I was surprised when Charlotte won at WrestleMania, but it would make sense if they were doing it because of her visa issues or because of the, coronavirus issues. But a triple threat match between those three sounds pretty badass to me, actually.
I know. I should feel more excited about it. Instead, I feel hesitant about it. Go ahead.
That's the Jason Bell I know. You want to be excited. He wants to be excited, but he's just so hesitant about it.
Yeah,
Kushida gets a victory over Atlas. I think everybody saw that coming. Cameron Grimes gets a win versus DeJournette, who has really been taking a lot of jobs lately. Doing a lot of jobs lately. Finn Balor had a shoot promo where he was talking about, not a shoot promo, but he was using a lot of shoot terms like squash and push.
I tripped off that too.
I'm on record as saying that I don't really like the half-ass shoot promos. Like, I either like, not shoot promo, work shoot, I should say. I either like the pipe bomb or the Joey Styles one that happened in like 06.
Right. Either
give me a straight up work shoot or stay in the work or stay kayfabe style. Kayfabe style. Because this half-ass stuff, talking about shoots and pushes when you're talking about and you're still in kayfabe mode is not my favorite type of promo. What say you?
It caught me by surprise. It was the one thing that I took away from that promo, because ultimately I'm feeling like we're moving away from Walter and Finn Balor for fill in the blank reason. But when he said push, he said, squash, all that stuff that we say. So it kind of threw me for a loop. Who is he really talking about? It just doesn't feel like he's talking about Walter.
Yeah, those are words. I can't say I've ever heard the words push or squash on WWE television.
Squash is one of those words. It's a polarizing word where I don't think, if you lined up 10 people in the quote-unquote wrestling community, squash could mean, a different different for all 10 people or buried, whatever the case may be. The fact that he even used it, to me, was a huge surprise. I'm kind of curious on where this goes because I just can't think of who is AWOL that's going to come back that Finn Balor can face.
I think it might be.
Right.
I think it's either Walter or it's somebody from the main roster that they're going to bring back that will surprise people. I don't know who it would be. I know who I would want it to be. You know, I can name a bunch of guys I would want it to be, but
okay, well then, no, throw a couple out.
Well, Cesaro, for one. I mean, he's always on the top of my list of guys that I wish they would do more with. You know, I wish there's, you know, I'm so predictable. I'm so predictable. KO, I would love it if it was Kevin Owens, but of course it's not going to be Kevin Owens, who we haven't seen since WrestleMania.
Apparently he has a injury. He's going to come back whenever he's ready. Hopefully, you know, he comes back at 100, close to 100. But yeah,
you see, everybody, you come here for your wrestling insider news from Jason Cornelius Bell. He's going to tell you what's going on. I didn't know that, and I'm a wrestling podcast host.
I just found this out. I guess this week or whatever, because obviously you got Orton and Edge coming back on Monday night. We haven't seen KO since WrestleMania, since Seth Rollins lost to him, and then Seth gets the title match. If, you know, logic would dictate, you know, where's KO? You know, he won that match.
Maybe KO returns at Money in the Bank.
KO returns. Better things have happened. God knows that.
Velveteen Dream lost to Adam Cole. Despite.
Baby!
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Despite the Dexter Lumis interference, it was a ho-hum match.
I have to agree, dude. I was not impressed. This is not doing much for the narrative on BFR about Velveteen Dream in singles matches. The booking was weird. Dexter Lumis coming from underneath the ring makes little to no sense. Him throwing the Bobby Fish into the referee, that's when I knew it was going ready to go left. I just really didn't think that it would be, once again, a clean win for Adam Cole. So now, what do we do with Velveteen Dream? It's Dijakovic all over again. I kind of figured that this might be the time to pull the trigger. Maybe these rumors about, you know, him doing God knows what with underage kids, maybe that's an issue to give them a pause for the cause.
What?
I just thought the whole match, A, too short, B, what the fuck is Dexter Lumis doing there, and C, what do you do with Velveteen Dream moving forward?
I just feel like Velveteen Dream has gotten nothing out of this program. Absolutely nothing out of this program. And maybe I know that's hard to judge with no crowd. You know, it's hard to tell if he's still over when there's nobody there to cheer.
Right.
But it seems to me that he is in a holding pattern, and it seems to me like his stock is going down. Isn't the worst thing in the world for a 22-year-old guy. I mean, that's about as young as you can be in the main event program in American wrestling. It does seem like he's in a holding pattern, if not maybe dropping a little bit.
I'm not going to say he's dropping that. I think similar to Rhea Ripley. I think they're going to run this back. It's just I just don't like the way they booked this. It was anticlimactic, and that's what NXT was for me. It was a lot of things that I was looking forward to, and then after it happened, I kind of was left, you know, thinking, well, what the fuck? That's not what I was expecting at all. So
right.
For me this week, AEW wins. It was pretty easy. AEW was pretty straightforward. It moves storylines along logically versus what NXT felt like was a takeover type card, especially with the two main titles on the line, and just really didn't deliver what I thought would be the better show coming in.
Let's get to that. 2 counts.
1, 2, 3.
This is usually when I say 2 beer, what's the 2 count? But I miss him. I miss the poor guy. But before we get to the Money in the Bank stuff, we're going to continue our series of what we're calling the NXT DoOver. And we're doing all the takeovers in order, starting with the very first one. So this week, we are on the third NXT takeover of all time, which is titled NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. Which took place September 11th, 2014 at Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. And if you guys thought that I liked triple threats, nah. I mean, Fatal 4-Ways are okay. Let's get some of the undercard stuff out of the way first. Bull Dempsey versus Mojo Rawley. This is Mojo Rawley's first appearance on the takeover. It sucked, right?
Yeah, this was pretty brutal. I think it ultimately doesn't matter. I was going to say, I think he might have wrestled one time before this, but no, this was basically a squash. Bull Dempsey, if I remember, was basically a enhancement talent, for lack of a better term, that had a storyline of him slimming down. And then, for whatever reason, they matched him against Mojo Rawley, which the last time we checked, he was getting squashed by Rusev or whatever the case may be. So, in the case of Mojo, this is
right.
back-to-back squashes.
How quickly I forget.
Going into moving forward from this point. So, I mean, Bull Dempsey looks good, obviously, because he's the dude doing the squash, but he didn't ultimately have a great career moving forward. Mojo Rawley now is getting squashed in back-to-back takeovers. That's not a good look. So, I mean, ultimately, it was a squash match. It's a 1 for me. It was really no reason for this to even be on the card. I get why it was, but
I'm going to give it
a 1-star match.
I'm going to give it an NA because I just don't care enough to even give it a star. Yeah, this is before takeovers really were the jam-packed cards that they are, because we also had Baron Corbin versus CJ Parker, otherwise known as Juice Robinson. Baron Corbin beat him in probably under 20 seconds.
If even that.
I don't even know what they were going for with CJ Parker's character here. On the screen behind him during his entrance, it says there is no Planet B, which I guess is a play on there is no Plan B, which
that's my guess.
Just terrible. I don't know what they're going with. I guess they saw the dreadlocks and they're like, he's mystical.
No, this is one of those times where I'm glad that the person that got released because he was not going anywhere anytime soon in NXT, and him becoming Juice Robinson now, at least he has, something moving forward to work with. This was basically another squash match. God bless. This was a faster squash than the Bull Dempsey Mojo Rawley match. Like you said, this was about 20, 30 seconds. You can give it an A. I'll give it a 1. I get it. It's the start of the Baron Corbin run for NXT, and that's great. But this is kind of my problem with WWE in general. You use guys that could have an opportunity to be something on the roster, and you squash them. And now you really have no place for them to go except for them to continue to be squashed. So,
all right.
Ultimately, like I said, no big deal. It's a 1-star match.
Lucha Dragons versus Ascension. I mean, this is a 1.5 star match. I'll give it a 1.5 star just because the Lucha Dragons can work. I don't know what they were thinking with the Ascension. I guess they were thinking, I don't know. What do you give it? Last time we spent
I gave it 2 stars, just for the fact that you get the rub, and I get the intent behind it. You get the rub for Lucha Dragons, them beating Ascension as the longest reigning tag champions, but the match itself was not very good, pretty one-sided actually, with the Ascension doing most of the ass kicking, but the Lucha Dragons pulling it out at the end, which is, it is what it is. But I agree with you. this is one of those times where I think you move the team up to the main roster, and the main roster didn't have anything for him. Plus, Vince isn't high on tag teams to begin with, so this is ultimately a recipe for disaster. But the match itself, nothing to really break your neck to go see.
We had a hair versus hair match with Enzo Amore with Colin Cassidy in his corner, still called Colin Cassidy, versus Sylvester Lefort. I gotta admit, Enzo and Cass were fun, man.
Oh yeah, no question about it. I got a little sentimental for 30 seconds. I caught myself, spelling SAWFT. So I mean, yeah. It's like, man, here's the good times. And as we go along, I think this is just going to be one of those times where you're going to catch yourself, thinking, what if they did this? What if this happened? Ultimately, this was a match, and it was what it was. I gave it 1.5 stars. Entertaining, but another match that really didn't need to be on the card per se.
Yeah, it's a 1 star for me. I won't do it the enigma. I don't even know what word I'm trying to say. I know how to spell it, but I just can't say it. I won't even disrespect it by giving it an NA, but I will give it a 1-on-1. Before we get to the 2 title matches, it's kind of weird. This is Hideo Itami's introduction to the WWE universe. Comes out as Kenta. It's kind of weird how much fanfare they gave him, considering they used him so terribly. Regal came out, introduced him. Ascension came out. He beat up Ascension, one after the other, or both at the same time, and then sat on a chair.
The last thing you need to do is have them come out after losing the titles to get beat down by a single guy, but go ahead.
I just think it's, in hindsight, 6 years later, it's so strange to see how little they did with Hideo Itami, considering how big of a deal they made him seem when they brought him in.
No, I agree. Injuries aside, and that's part of the story, so I'm not going to sit up here and bury it, but ultimately this feels like a big-time missed opportunity. I thought, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, I was thinking, is this Nakamura coming out? But I was like, oh, no, wait, it's Kenta. So, yeah, that's how much I've totally have glossed over the fact that Kenta / Hideo Itami was a part of NXT. And the fact of how much, like you said, the hype leading up to this. I mean, you got Hulk Hogan, going over to Japan to make this announcement. You got Regal at Full Sail making this a big deal. They made it feel like a big deal. And ultimately, like I said, as we move along, we'll look back. This feels like a missed opportunity.
All right. So we will move on to the title matches. We had Charlotte versus Bayley in the title match. I am interested to hear what star rating you gave this. I'll let you go first.
I will always say I'm a Charlotte mark, but this kind of unfortunately missed the mark for me. I gave it 2.5 stars. The story is which to me the biggest part of the match. The match itself was okay. My biggest takeaway from it was Charlotte missing the moonsault and just not looking good while doing it. Queen win for Charlotte, but I think that missing the moonsault sets up the finish, and it kind of made it to be a clunky finish. Obviously, after the fact, you have Charlotte or Sasha coming down, and then Charlotte throws Sasha off of Bayley for whatever reason, so that didn't really make sense. The match was okay. Then the post-match made it even more weird. So now I'm like, okay, what the fuck is really going on? I almost wanted to watch the next episode to figure it out. But the match itself is the focus. I gave it 2.5.
I gave it 2. You can tell that, I mean, like I said, this is 6 years ago. They've both gotten so much better in the meantime. The charisma was still there for Charlotte. I'm still trying to find Bayley's. But I gave it 2 stars, which still makes it the best match of the night so far. There was I guess I'm spoiled into how great women's matches have actually evolved to be, in some cases, just as good as the men's. In a lot of cases, just as good as the men's. And
No, I agree.
And particularly how great Charlotte is now. I've said before that I think she's the greatest women wrestler of all time, and I stand by it.
I don't know, man. I can't do that anymore. I'm watching way too much other women's wrestling now where I can't just say that. But I understand where you're going with it. At one point, I agreed with it, so I can't sit up here.
I mean, I don't watch as much wrestling every week as I only watch. I only watch 9 hours a week, Jason. I only watch 9 hours.
I know it's not your fault, Daddy. That's why you got me on this.
All right, and then the main event. Yeah, 9 hours a week is not enough. And then the main event, we had Tyler Breeze versus Sami Zayn versus Tyson Kidd versus Adrian Neville in a fatal four-way match for the NXT Championship. I'll take this one first because I made you go first for the women's match. I think it's impossible to have a 5-star match in a fatal four-way. I think it's nearly impossible to have a 5-star match in a triple threat. I think that 5-star matches, and like I said before in previous weeks, I'm not going to go above 5 stars. That being because I think that one-on-one, that's where the best storytelling is done, and that's where you get the most drama. The best matches are one-on-one matches where they tell the best story, right? This was as good of a 4-way match that I've ever seen. I had so much fun watching this match. It was nonstop action. I was watching it, and I went between, okay, who's the MVP of this match? Oh, well, it's Sami Zayn. No, it's Neville. Oh, wait, Tyler Breeze is actually tons of fun in this match.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving it a full 4 stars.
Okay, all right. I thought I was going to be, well, I am lower than you, but not too much lower. I gave it 3.5. Every guy got their spot. I thought that Tyler Breeze, watching it again for the second time, I was really surprised that Tyler Breeze wasn't the one to go over. I think the crowd kind of was anticipating it and was ready to explode for that. That's neither here nor there. Ultimately, I think
he was really good in this match.
Yeah, and there was a couple of times where, looking back at it, I was like, yeah, this could have been the time. This could have been the time. But like I said, neither here nor there. I thought that this was obviously the best match of the night. And it just really reinforced why I like Tyler Breeze. And I think this was one of those times where if they had a North American title at the time, he'd have been an easy shoe-in for that because that had him on TV so much more and could have built him up to being the NXT Championship. But
and he's clearly the one with the least experience here. You can kind of tell that maybe it's what I'm bringing to it. I kind of saw Tyson Kidd as the ring general in this, and Sami Zayn also. You can tell that they're the most experienced, at least I thought I could, and that this is coming from a non-wrestler. But watching it, it looks like Tyson Kidd and Sami Zayn were completely in charge of this match.
No, I would agree with that, especially with the fact that, now that Tyson Kidd is not wrestling anymore and he's behind the scenes, you can kind of safely assume that he had some sort of influence in, how we're getting from point A to point B. Definitely not, working the whole match, but, throwing a nugget here or there. The sharpshooter, pulling Tyler Breeze away from the sharpshooter, calling Tyler Breeze out for the match, saying he was the wink. Now he has him in the sharpshooter. It's stuff like that made this match, more complete, I guess, for lack of a better term for me. But yeah, it was easily the best match of the night and a really good fatal 4-way match in general. What
is your overall grade?
Oof. I know we were looking for the best, but this is probably the worst of the takeovers that we've seen so far. I'm giving this a D. I mean, it's hard for the two matches to overcome everything else that happened in front of it.
I mean, really just one match.
Bayley and Charlotte, yeah, that wasn't really a great match into itself. So, yeah, I'll give this a D.
Yep. Okay, so we are in agreement. We're both giving it a D. Let's get to that 3 counts.
1, 2,
All right, JCB, let me get my pad of paper out here. We got about 15 minutes left, and we're gonna
15 minutes.
We're gonna do this as I can't believe how much time we spent on the Wednesday Night Wars, but that's what happens when me and you start talking wrestling. All right,
I'll say we talk too much.
Okay, so here we go. So predictions for Money in the Bank this weekend. Jason, I will let you go first. We are going to go, you're going to give me least to most likely to win this match. And this is the Fatal 4-Way for the tag team belts. And we have New Day, Miz and Morrison, Forgotten Sons, and Lucha House Party.
Least to most. Least to most. We'll go Lucha House Party as least. They're there because they need to be filling out the match itself. Damn. I'll go Miz and Morrison next. Forgotten Sons for whatever reason. I just think that the Usos being out, they'll give the Forgotten Sons this spot to maybe go over at a later point, but I can't see the New Day dropping the titles at this point. They just got them. I mean, not unless you're going to hot shot the titles again, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost the same as you. I'm not going to give the Forgotten Sons quite as much chance as you are. I'll go Lucha House Party last, Forgotten Sons second to last, Miz and Morrison, and then New Day most likely to win. This hasn't officially been announced yet, but I'm going to just say that they're going to have a Viking Raiders versus Street Profits match. Just because the Viking Raiders seems to have had their number over the last few weeks. If the Viking Raiders and Street Profits face each other, Street Profits champs, who do you think wins?
Man. The logic would want me to say Street Profits because the titles will be on the line. I'll stick to that. I don't even like the way that they're going about this, but that's neither here nor there. I'll take the Street Profits.
Yep, me too. I am taking the Street Profits. For the women's match, I didn't even know this was happening. Bayley versus Tamina.
Dude, seriously, you need to watch SmackDown, man. Okay.
I watched some this week.
Like and you didn't know that this was a bad... Jesus Christ.
No, man. I fast forward through anything with Tamina on it. I'm sorry, man.
I'll take Bayley to retain.
Yeah, me too.
Reasons.
So I'll tell you this. Before every week, I look up the results of what happened. You know, and sometimes if I'm watching it, I'll write it down. But if I don't watch it, I'll look through results on this website that I follow. And this week, today, I was writing down everything that happened on SmackDown, and I had watched some of it, but it was late at night, and I was a little banged up. And I started writing it down, and I was like, God, this shit is boring. This is exactly like last week. And then I realized when I got to the end that I was writing down last week's. I clicked on the wrong link. But how could you tell, man? It's SmackDown. It sucks.
I was thinking this today. Depending on what happens with this pay-per-view, I might have to take a break from SmackDown myself. It's getting harder and harder to watch, man.
Stop telling me to watch it then.
Dude, we're got a podcast. How you not gonna watch it?
You
watch it. We'll put it in quotes.
I'm not like Zach who doesn't watch anything.
That's hardcore right there. God bless that dude.
We have Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins for the belt. I'll go first. They're not going to put it on McIntyre to take it away this fast. I'm going McIntyre. That seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. With Jinder Mahal lurking in the distance, that's going to be a contender in some form or fashion, especially now he's not in the Money in the Bank match. So, yeah, I agree with you. Drew McIntyre retains.
Jinder Mahal's a perfect guy to tie up Drew McIntyre for a couple pay-per-views as he, collects his bona fides as a fighting champion. Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. Not a lot going on with this story. They're trying to mine as much as they can, but Braun Strowman was just the big dumb idiot behind. I mean, he was the fourth member of the Wyatt family. It wasn't like he did that much. It wasn't even like they were on the same team for very long.
Right.
Man, I'm kind of torn on this one. Let me go first because I don't want to hear your answer. Because I could see them just putting it on Braun at WrestleMania just so Bray could take it back and they could try to correct the damage that they did by taking the belt off of Bray prior to WrestleMania. But then you do further damage to Braun Strowman, who has already had so much damage. I can't see Braun Strowman winning. I'm going with Bray Wyatt.
I will take the opposite. I'm going Braun Strowman. I think that the key to this is who the opponent of Braun Strowman is. It's Bray Wyatt. If it was The Fiend, I would agree. Because it's Bray Wyatt, I think they've already proven that they're not hesitant to have Bray Wyatt lose in a match of this kind of magnitude. I think this will happen here. I'll take Braun Strowman to retain.
Okay. For the women's Money in the Bank match, least to most, we have Asuka, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, Carmella. I'll let you go first.
Okay, Carmella, Lacey Evans. Say the last three again. Asuka, Carmella, Lacey Evans.
Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax.
Baszler, Nia Jax. Not like it really fucking matters. I'm missing one. I've got 5.
Asuka, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans,
Dana
Carmella.
Brooke. Okay, thank you very much. Like I said, like it fucking matters. All right, here we go. Least likely to win, Dana Brooke, for obvious reasons. Sorry, not sorry. Carmella, I'll go next. Already won. Can't go there. I'm going Lacey Evans from there. I just don't think that there is a reason for her to have it at this point. I'll go Asuka from there. Always a threat, but I don't think they're pulling the trigger at this point. I'll go Nia Jax next, just in case they want to get cute and go Becky versus Nia, but unfortunately, I think this is Shayna Baszler all the way. This is one of those times where I think they're going to try to correct the mistake and have Shayna be the hunter to catch Becky slipping, maybe against Becky versus a Nia Jax. Becky wins, Shayna comes in, wins the title. Shayna Baszler is my pick.
Who do you have second?
Nia Jax. Shayna Baszler's number 1. Nia Jax is 2.
And Asuka's 3?
Asuka's 3.
Okay.
Lacey Evans is 4.
Gotcha.
Carmella's 5. Dana Brooke is 6.
All right. So my bottom 2 are the same as yours, Dana Brooke and Carmella. 4th, I have Nia Jax. I just don't feel like they really see a whole lot of upside with her that much anymore. I have Asuka 3 just because they managed to bungle all sorts of shit with Asuka from the get-go, so I can't assume they're going to do anything else. I have Shayna Baszler as the second least to win just because I feel... All right, second... First from the top is that because... I don't know. I see them putting on Lacey. I see them putting like some juice behind Lacey Evans. And besides that, there's always a way that they could get Shayna Baszler. There's all sorts of way they could get the belt on Shayna Baszler. The same isn't true for Lacey Evans. So I'm going Lacey Evans number 1 as my most likely.
Okay.
And last, we have the men's Money in the Bank. Least to most... Well, these are the contenders: Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, Aleister Black, Baron Corbin, Otis, and AJ Styles. All right, so least to most. I am going Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio least. I'll go Otis second least. I'll go Daniel Bryan third. I'll go... The music stopped. Fucks me up when the music stops.
Hey, when that happens, shit. I'll say that's when the ugly lights come on. You're looking across at some
Okay.
Never mind.
All right. Here we go. I got Rey Mysterio least, Otis next, Daniel Bryan next, Baron Corbin next, Aleister Black second to first, and AJ Styles as my favorite to win the Money in the Bank. Jason Cornelius Bell, what do you got?
Interesting. Very similar, honestly. I agree with Rey Mysterio. I don't think there's a reason for him to win. Otis, I agree with that as well. He can mid-card at 8 point. Daniel Bryan, I agree with that. Already won it. Here's where, unfortunately, we're going to differ just a little bit. I'm going to go AJ next. For whatever reason, Undertaker is still coming out of his mouth. That scares me. Not saying that Taker's going to be there, but that scares me to think that rivalry is not done. I'm going to go Baron Corbin next just because I think they like to be cute from time to time. Even though he won it, I can easily see them trying to make him a top heel of some form or fashion and then coming back and pulling the trigger again. But I'm not sure why. It's just a gut feeling. Feels like this is Aleister Black's time. It makes sense just in the sense that I don't think there's really a way for him to get the title without having this stipulation with him at all times. He's a guy this is why you have Money in the Bank, for guys that need a opportunity, a break to get them into the big time. See Dolph Ziggler, see CM Punk. Aleister Black feels like he's on that list of guys that need a break.
Jack Swagger. See Jack Swagger. All right. Hey, listen, I hope you're right. I hope Aleister Black wins. And that was our 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
All right, Jason, this might be the best work rate birthday week that we've ever had. Okay?
Do tell.
You ready for it?
Yeah.
Owen Hart would have been 55 today. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Tangaloa, also known as...
Oh, Camacho from last week.
That's right. He's 37. Kevin Owens is 36 today. Will Ospreay is 26 today. All 4 of those guys have the same birthday.
That's crazy.
That is a hell of a work rate birthday. But we're not done.
Shit.
But we're not done. Ciampa turns 35 tomorrow. Io Shirai turns 30 tomorrow. Tito Santana turns 67 later on this week. Billy Kidman turns 46. Bobby Roode turns 43. Lindsay Dorado turns 33. Kushida turns 37. Wow. And then you have Glacier, who turns 56. But come on, that's a hell of a work rate birthday week, though, right?
No, that's a loaded birthday list, especially on the same day. Hell yeah.
Which one is the closing music? Hold on a second.
Oh, shit.
No, it's not that one. Hold on. There we go. Hey, everybody. We know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys taking your time out of the day to listen to ours. For F&B Eatery.
Check.
For my wife, my cats, and my dog.
Check.
For Murray the Murray Man Murray.
Check.
Lucha Chris.
Check.
For Vice.
Check.
For Two Beer Zach Pullman.
Check.
For Jason Cornelius Bell, I am Bill Vagey. Everybody support your local restaurants, support your local weed dealers, and everybody boo the heels.